Okay, next we're going to talk about sharing content and screens. So, down at the bottom on your tools, you have a share content button. As the host, you can click on that button to share out your content with your attendees. So, if I click on that button, I'm going to get a plethora of options where I can share my screen, and I have dual monitors, so I have two different screens that I could possibly share with my attendees. And then underneath, you're going to see a listing of programs that are open or applications on your computer that you could share from as well. You can also choose to share a file or create a whiteboard to draw on. So, what we're going to look at first is sharing different types of content. So, if you share your screen, you're sharing everything that is on that screen. So, students would be able to see everything. You also have an option to be able to share just a particular program. So, let me show you the difference between the two. So, if I share my screen, I'm going to share this screen. And so you see that my participants see that on their screen. And then if I need to minimize this and go someplace else, they see my entire desktop and they can see anything that's on my screen, they would be able to see. So, email that may be open, they could see that as well. So, make sure that if you are sharing your screen with students, you are fully aware of what is on your screen. Okay. You also have the option, if I come up here to the top, I have different tools whenever I'm sharing my screen. So I can stop sharing, I can pause sharing. So that means it would freeze the view for your participants. So if I pressed pause to freeze the screen, it would freeze on my desktop. And then if I came over here and opened up another screen, my participants are still seeing my desktop. So, one way that you might want to use that freeze, let me resume, is that as attendees are entering your meeting, what I would suggest you do is share your screen. And then what I would do is open up a presentation like this that I will be giving you the link to so that you can make your own copy of this and edit it to your heart's content. I would present this. And then what I would do is come up here to the top and pause, freeze that screen. So my users that are joining the meeting, that's what they would see as they're joining. And I would probably want to pause it when those tools aren't at the bottom. So let me pause that again. And there is what they would see as they're joining the meeting. I may want to put my name or a picture of myself, or you can just leave it straight like this to remind students to stay muted unless they're sharing something, to be aware of their surroundings in their home, of with their camera on or off, and then if they have questions or ideas, those could go into the chat box. And then what I would be able to do while the screen is frozen for them is I could go get other documents ready. I could get stuff ready for the class that may be needed. And then once everybody's here and we're ready to start class, then I could resume sharing my screen and bring in any content that I have on my desktop, a PowerPoint, a Keynote, a Google Slides, anything that I need for them to be able to look at. You also have the option to select other content that you would want to share. So I can share something else from here. You can change assignments on who is the presenter. So you can do that from this bar up at the top. You can adjust your mute and video settings. Have your recorder just like you had at the bottom, participants list, chat. If you click on participants or chat, it's going to open a new panel on this side of the screen. The users will not be able to see this panel. Even if I was not paused, they would not be able to see this. Same with the chat. And then you do have the more options and controls just like you have at the bottom. So when you're sharing your screen, those tools go from the bottom to the top. Okay. And then once you're ready to either resume or stop sharing, you can choose to unpause and now you're sharing your screen again, or I can stop sharing altogether and it would bring back the view for everybody to be able to see. If I'm sharing specific application, so let's say I want to share that Google Chrome window instead of my entire screen, I'm going to share Chrome. So I'm going to click share. And so here is the Chrome window. It looks the same for me. I'm only sharing content from here. And for the users, it looks pretty much the same. Now, here's where the difference comes in. If I minimize this window, you now have a black screen behind it. It could also appear white, depending on the settings of your device. And all they will be able to see is this one application. So if I was sharing something from Google Slides and then I needed to change and we needed to go into PowerPoint, for example, if I go try to open up PowerPoint right now, or let's say the snipping tool, so I'm going to open up my snipping tool, they won't see this program. You can see up here it says not shared, and this is the screen that is shared. So if I wanted to change sharing, I would have to click on the share button, and now they would be able to see that window as well on their screen. So just be aware of if you are sharing a program versus actually sharing your entire screen. There is a difference. And then another option that you are going to see whenever you are sharing content is up at the top, there's a drop down option for optimizing for sharing text and images or motion and video. So if you are only sharing with students text and images, you can leave it at the default optimized for text and images. Everything will look fine. The problem comes in whenever you're actually wanting to share video with students and you want to play a video from your computer and you want to play it through WebEx to their computers. So let me show you what this looks like. So let me share my screen again, and I am going to go, and that toolbar is in my way. So let me open a new tab and I'm going to go to YouTube. And I'm going to open this video because it cracked me up earlier when I watched it. So I'm going to click on that. And again, this is optimized for text and images. And this is what it would look like on the user side. So that is what it looks like sharing with it optimized for um, images and text and images. There was no audio that came through. So if you're sharing a video and the users say they can't hear it, it's because you need to optimize for motion and video. You also may have noticed that it was kind of jittery and laggy compared to my computer that you're looking at. So now I'm going to optimize it for motion and video so that you can see the difference. So I'm going to share my screen again. We are going to rewind. If you're not a Hamilton fan, I'm sorry. But here we go. I'm going to play it again.
And then quite possibly the best one was this kid on TikTok. Is pretty good.
You'll be the one complaining when I am gone. No, don't change the subject.
Now, there is lag between me playing and what they see on their end, but the video itself plays more smoothly when you optimize for video. And notice, before I stop, notice I did get this message here. Based on your current hardware, the content is being shared at a lower resolution, which may make it difficult for users to read the text. So if you notice over here on the right hand side, these other videos in the version, and at the bottom, the version that you're seeing that I'm recording on the participant screen, those are hard to read because it's being optimized for the video to be able to smoothly be played. Whereas when I optimize for text and images, these were clear. So just take note of that. Depending on what you are sharing, you may want to switch between back and forth if you're going to share a video versus text. Again, audio as well. Your students aren't going to be able to hear the audio if you're not selecting optimize for motion and video. So I am going to go back to text and images there as well. And then also down here at the bottom, you can choose to share a file with your students as well and a whiteboard. So I'm going to do share whiteboard. This is going to be a little bit harder on a computer versus on an iPad, but you do still have the ability to write and annotate, and your users would be able to see that. Okay, so those are your different options for sharing content in a WebEx meeting.